Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to anchor for, catching mangroves, yellowtail, mutton, stuff like that on the reef. So first thing what we want to do is we want to find our bottom. Now down here in the Keys, you may have one mark on your plotter, your GPS unit, but it's usually a big area. And if you're in shallow, maybe 50, 40 feet, something like that, you can see where it's dark and then where it's bright, where one's the reef, one's the sand, so you can have an idea of what area you need. There are two factors that affect how you anchor, and that is wind and current. Today we've got some strong wind and waves, and then the current. If you're not sure which way your boat's going to drift, first thing I would do is I'd go to the spot, put your boat in neutral, and just wait and watch your plotter. Give it some time, your boat totally stop, let it drift, and then go back to the spot and pay attention to what heading that is. That'll give you a good idea of what your boat's drifting. If there are other boats around, you can see which way they're pointed. If they're pointed that way, well, you're gonna be drifting, that way. That's the line you're gonna drift. So I'm trying to drive around and see which spot shows the most fish. And then when I see a spot I like, I'm gonna anchor up ahead of it. Now sometimes we're fishing right on a ledge, like back at home, or an artificial wreck. And in which case you want your boat about right over it, because you're gonna drop your baits right down on top of it. But here, you gotta keep in mind, we're gonna be chum fishing and our lines are gonna be drifting back. So you don't wanna be right on top of your spot. You wanna be ahead of it, current-wise, so that your chum is drifting onto the reef. This could be tricky because if the current's going different than the wind, your boat could be anchored this way, but your chum could be flowing this way. Sometimes you just gotta anchor and put your chum bag out and see what it's doing. And then you may just have to reset. As much prep as you do, sometimes that's what you got to do. Don't stay in a bad spot just because, well, I'm already anchored, I guess I got to stay here. No, reset, get on a good spot, and then you'll be the most successful catching fish. Ideally, I like to pay attention to my plotter, and I want to throw my anchor on sand so that my anchor doesn't get hung up in the reef. A lot of anchors have been lost anchoring around on the reef. And then I'll give enough rope so that I drift back over the reef and that my chum still is drifting back even further onto a good spot. Okay, so right there on my depth recorder, you can see where I got off of good bottom. It got thinner, and now I'm on some sandy bottom. It can be kind of confusing with hard bottom, just because I know the area. I can tell the difference. Diving areas like these. You can see if that'll hold. Make sure to give your boat plenty of lay. It all kind of depends on your anchor setup in your boat. Heard some say as much as 7-to-1 ratio for your depth to how much rope you put out. So if it was 50 feet, you put out 350 feet of rope. I like to use a lot of chain on our boat. So I have a long piece of chain, about 20 feet or so, is longer than most from what I've seen, and that helps the anchor to hold better, and it kind of keeps that anchor down level with the ground, and then the rope kind of shoots up. It'll depend in different currents and in different situations. For example, when we anchor up for redfish out on the river, I'll have to double anchor it. I'll use a big, like 16-pound plow and my 8-pound fluke and a really long chain, just because the current's going so fast in the main, channel of the St. Johns River. Out in the open water, it usually isn't that bad. You can watch your GPS unit and see if your speed's at 0. If it stays at 0 consistently, then you're not moving.